Good evening, everyone. This is Alok Patnia, founder and managing partner at Taxmantra Global Group. Today, I'm super excited because we have got Eastina with us. She is the regional director, South Asia and Middle East with Economic Development Board of Singapore. I have also got Soumik, who is part of our team at Taxmantra Global. And this webinar is very, very important because in this webinar, we will talk about the significance of Singapore as a country for Indian founders and the hub which it is becoming for global tech companies. So it's my privilege to welcome you today on this discussion. And this subject is becoming very, very increasingly important for Indian founders in terms of how to build global businesses by combining the strength of India and Singapore. And as I said that Eastina is with us and she will put across her perspective in terms of Singapore as global hub for innovation, technology, investment and economic growth, and in helping international companies establish, expand and succeed from Singapore. For many years, Indian businesses looked at Singapore primarily as a convenient destination for setting up companies overseas. But I truly believe that the opportunity has now become much, much larger. And Singapore should not simply be viewed as a holding company jurisdiction. It can become the strategic corridor from which an Indian founder can access Southeast Asia, global customers, institutional capital, international talent, technology partners, and highly trusted business environment. And this becomes especially relevant in the age of artificial intelligence, which we are in today. India has extraordinary strength, a large domestic market, exceptional engineering and technology capability, entrepreneurial energy, and the ability to build and deploy products at scale. And on the other hand, Singapore brings complementary strength, access to global decision makers, regional headquarters, and multinational corporations. Also research institutions, capital, and massive intellectual property protection environment. And therefore, the opportunity is not India versus Singapore, it's India plus Singapore. An Indian AI company can build its technology and deliver capabilities in India, establish its global commercial and strategic base in Singapore, test solutions with sophisticated customers, and build credibility. So without further delay, let me bring in Soumik to start his presentation, and then we will also invite Eastina later in this webinar. Over to you, Soumik.
Thanks, Alok. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Let me share my screen.
As Soumik is in the process of sharing his screen, Soumik, we are able to see your screen now. Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
You can go to the full screen mode. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Alok. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you in this session. Before we dive in, I want to say something at first, and which might be something unusual for a webinar that talks about Singapore in the title. We are not here to talk about incorporation of entity in Singapore. That's the easy part. Anyone can do it in 3 to 5 days. We can do it. Anyone can do it. What we are here to talk about today is something far, far more valuable. We want to talk about how Indian founders, AI founders, can build genuine global companies using Singapore as a strategic center of gravity. My name is Soumik and I lead the India-Singapore Bridge for the firm. For the first 15 years, we have been working on the India-Singapore corridor. We have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs to expand their business in Singapore, to have their branch office HQs in Singapore, to help them in their VC funding, due diligence, IRS, EIS claim, and everything. And today we will talk about three important things that AI founders do not know and where they can get wrong. One, Singapore's AI Verify framework and what it actually does for your enterprise sales. Two, how Singapore funding ecosystem actually works and how to access it. And point number three, which is most important, the 400% tax deduction under EIS scheme and what that number actually means for your cash position. On this note, let me show you what we will cover on broad perspective. We will take 15 minutes to 20 minutes wherein we will talk about the conversations of Singapore entity, how the structures is formed. We will speak about the AI Verify system. We will understand the funding, the access, the tax incentives in Singapore. We will understand the structure, what's the best possible structure over here. And in fact, we will even discuss of a real client story, a story that every entrepreneurs who are into AI business can hear and learn from. And post this, Eastina will speak about the EDB's program, the current terms, direct engagement parts that is there. And critically, what we will cover in the entire webinar is different aspects of the AI ecosystem and how Singapore can benefit you over here. So let me come to a very important question, and almost every founder who wants to run or have a global entity ask me that, Soumik, should I set up a Singapore entity now, or should I wait until I raise my Series A or B? Now my answer is always the same, to be honest. I say that the structure is a part of fundraise. It's not this versus this, it's this and that. You do not set up after raising. You set up before, because the structure is what makes the raise possible. Here is why 2026 is very important. And there are several reasons behind it. The first reason, India is now the third largest startup ecosystem in the world by volume. Our AI talent pool is around 400,000 to 500,000 professionals. But here is the structural problem. Global institutional capital, the kind that writes a 10 million, 50 million checks in seed to Series A round, is deeply reluctant to commit direct funds to AI entities as of now in India. Not because of technology, but because of jurisdiction. Sometimes it's taxation, sometimes it's FEMA, sometimes it's repatriation, sometimes it's common law over here. Force 2, which is around this, Singapore has committed seriously to becoming a global AI hub. It's not in words, but in policy. It has committed $1 billion fund to the AI compute infrastructure. If you want to build a globally credible AI company, Singapore is offering the right infrastructure for you. And three more important, as I always say, the EIS scheme. Now it has been operating from YA 2024. This gives a 400% tax deduction if you qualify for R&D. Now, if for the starters and for people who doesn't know, for the first 3 years in any which way, Singapore gives 100K a deduction for the first 100K profit. So essentially, the tax is reduced to around 4 to 4.5%. But this year, they have unlocked further benefits over here. And this is very important. And as Alok says, India and Singapore are complementing each other. in your entire business plan. So that will help in a huge way in case of cross jurisdictional alignment, right? Now let me speak more about the AI verification, right? Now let's take an example. um, Last time there was a founder, right, and he reached out to me 6 7 months back. It's an AI company with a phenomenal NLP product. It's a deeply technical team. It was pitching to tier one British insurance group. The procurement committee just came with a fundamentally important question, which unfortunately the founder did not have any answer. They asked, can you demonstrate that your AI model is explainable and auditable under a recognized international framework? Now, this might sounds a bit crazy, but Singapore has a system through which the AI verification solves. The AI Verify is a testing governance framework published by IMDA. This is a recognized body in Singapore. It is not a regulation you must comply with, but it's more of a voluntary thing. It helps to be assessed across 4 dimensions: explainability, fairness, robustness, and data governance. Now, this is very important, and I do not want to overstate this. This is mandatory. It is a very voluntary framework. It does not automatically satisfy the EU Act, but it is a completely different process, and it gives a complete positive signal that this entity is under a very specific global framework, and hence the global business hubs get a trust to do business with it. This is just not a company doing a startup or doing operating on a shared space. This is an actual company registered under AI schemes, AI verified schemes in Singapore, and hence is easier to crack deals with B2B clients. Now, this is very, very important for you. Now, this is a trust and governance that people very find it difficult to argue with. Now, let's talk about the funding part. Funding, where you get the AI startup capital. And this is where I would come out to make you understand or hear about the $1 billion AI fund. For everyone's context, and let me be very direct to you on this slide. Because there are so many noise around it, what's the right version of AI fund? What is actually the AI fund doing? Now, the Singapore's national AI strategy has committed $1 billion fund in AI compute infrastructure, talent investment, the fundraising side. Founders can access this very specific programs is and this is just not a single application. The Singapore AI National AI Strategy 2.0 commits $1 billion to this government investment program, but that's a bulk commitment in the entire AI stuff, and hence we have divided this into 3 important categories. Channel 1, which is the startup SG equity. This is managed by Enterprise Singapore, the government agency that supports Singapore-based startups. The government co-invests alongside accredited private VCs on the same commercial terms as lead investor. So this is very valuable. You see, you will get equal amount of fund when a private VC in their network invest, and the Singapore government will co-invest along with them in your in your program. So it's easier to raise funds out there. The current co-investment quantum and specific program tracks will be discussed in detail at a later perhaps a webinar, because it's a exhaustive thing. But more or less its entire thing is based out of co-investment stuff. So Singapore government will give co-invest on the same terms as a lead VC in your company. Now there is a AI innovation and talent programs. What is this? AISG runs several programs that are directly relevant for AI founders. One perhaps is the 100 Experiments program. It pairs with industry companies with AISG, AI engineers to develop AI products. If you have AI products and ideas that you want to build, AISG will fund those ideas. Now, again, there are grand challenge for deeper research, and all of them requires this Singapore entity. You cannot just have a foreign entity out there. You need to have a Singapore entity, and from that Singapore entity, you can fund. You can get this fund and investment opportunities. Now, next come to the EDB investment facilitation, which I think Eastina will put into perspective. EDB works with investors seeking to anchor the R&D in SG, and it pioneers the direct account management stuff. And I think Eastina will discuss in deep on this. Now, let's come to the most important category over here, the very important stuff. And since many of our viewers, many of our clients have asked this particular point of 400%. What is this 400% tax deduction? What is this 400% R&D expenditure? Again, this is very important and interesting. Just think of it. When a founder spends $100 on a qualified R&D in Singapore, they get to deduct 400% from their taxable income. Just imagine this: you spend $100 in your R&D, and you can deduct 400% from your income. That's 4 times the actual cash they spend. This is not a rounding error, ladies and gentlemen. This is a deliberate, aggressive pro-innovation policy from the Singapore government, and it has been confirmed by our IRS, the Inland Revenue Authority of Singapore, from operative year of assessment year 2024. So this might be a very big game changer. So just I have done the illustration how this will benefit you. Look at the table. I have labeled them clearly, but the maths is real. A seed stage startup spends $50,000 on qualifying R&D. The deductible amount is $200,000 at 17%. That is the highest tax rate in Singapore. At 17% corporate tax, that saves $34,000 in tax. Their effective net cost of that R&D is 16,000. The Singapore government has subsidized 68% of their research spend. A Series A startup, if you look at the table, ladies and gentlemen, if it spends 200,000, the deductible amount is $800,000. The tax save is $136,000, and then the net cost save is 64,000. Read this very slowly yourself. They spend $200,000, and the effective cost is just 64,000. The rest is funded by the tax system. It's not a grant. It's not any VC money. Is just funded by the entire tax system. That's an extraordinary policy generosity, and this is real, confirmed, and operative right now. So these are very important categories that one should be aware of. Now let us understand the Singapore versus India, the tax architecture. For the first few years, you get an exemption, and hence you 4.25%. The dividend tax is less. The capital gain is nothing. The TCS is eliminated. There is DTAA. So that's what I'm saying, that India is the market and Singapore is there to structure your entire ecosystem. Now, this is again a very important part that one should be aware of. And I would like Alok, if he can come in over here, there is always a poem risk, and that's where people should plan their Singapore entity accordingly. It's just not forming the entity. There are founders who work with running companies. They do not have time to speak to experts of ACRA, IRS, RBI, ODI, income tax of India, income tax of Singapore, and then thus create the entire structure, and there only the poem risk come in. So Alok, if you can come in over here and discuss around the poem ecosystem over here.
Thanks, Soumik. So, POEM is basically a place of effective control and management. So, from an India standpoint, if the operations are mostly in India and the founders are still founders and the decision makers are sitting in India, and you have a company in Singapore, the government might want to check the effective management and place of control and management, whether that company is being managed from India or from Singapore. Now, the problem is that at this point of time, most of the business owner, since they don't know the actual law, they unnecessary, either they get over scared and sensitive, and they say that we don't want to create a global structure because of poem risk, or they don't know the ramification if they create. So it's something which is, if you have a genuine need for a company which is outside Singapore, and there is a substance over form, and you create that substance. Uh, so that is what the poem is. So before we set up a company, it's very important that we understand why we are setting up the company and what is the objective, and structure poem structuring, and also the transfer pricing and cross-border structuring is done at the time of setting up the company, so that it becomes easier. And we, from day one, we know that how we would navigate these complex challenges. Yeah, Soumik.
Right. So this is what Alok says is very, very critical. If you incorporate a Singapore entity in a hurried way, maybe incorporate it online, get a nominee director service for a $500 a year, pointed your company's registered address in, say, a Raffles Place, and then flew back to Bangalore and ran everything from here. You may have a company that exists on paper in Singapore, but is, from the tax regulatory standpoint, an Indian company wearing a Singapore t-shirt. IRS knows this, the income tax department knows this, and increasingly sophisticated VCs knows this, and hence is very, very important to understand and structure it right from day one itself, so that there is no hiccups whatsoever. Now, let us now understand that what actually gets built, right? What actually is done when we speak about the TMG India Singapore Bridge. What actually we do? We actually take a 8 to 12 weeks period, right? We make the design. We do not just incorporate. We make the design. We help in Singapore incorporation. We help in the bank account setup. We help in even the India compliance. That is the RBI compliance. So for everyone, in case if you're an Indian resident, in case you have an India office and you want to form a subsidiary in Singapore, if you want to have a Singapore entity and you are an Indian, the RBI compliance is a must for you. So you need to do the RBI compliance, and we do it. We make sure that we just not incorporate, we do a design, we make sure the bank account is set up, we make sure that the Indian compliance is done, and we even help in guidance on the EIS front and everything. We help even post incorporation, the transfer pricing, the live, the operational part. So we just handhold you till the last mile out there, right? So that's something that we do, and we have done it for umpteen number of companies. We have companies wherein there is a Singapore HQ. We have companies that have on that Singapore HQ there is an Indian operating arm. The Singapore HQ is where the fund is raised. It it raises from global VC firm. It also gets revenue from APAC countries, EU, US countries, and in fact, they also have a US entity. And this is done under proper structuring, proper planning, so that people can take the advantage of the DTAA, the Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement among the countries, so that people can go global, but at the same time be in the right side of the tax laws and the regulation, right? So that is something that one should be careful about. Now, let us understand this through an example. This is something that we have done for a company, we have noticed for a company, and this is very, very useful. I want to show you how it looks and done through a client illustration, a composite based real engagement that we ourselves manage. Everything I have described in the last 8 slides, this is what it looks like when it actually happens. This is the composite illustration based on the TMG advice engagement. On the left, if you find what was the company before the structuring, a brief background. If you see in the left, there is it's a 3-year old SaaS company. It was a 3-year old SaaS company when it reached out to us. It had a very strong product, a development team of 20 engineers in India. Annual recurring revenue, it's in early part of the millions, not entirely crossed $1 million, but it was in early part of the million. The founders had been in VC conversation for the last 18 months. Every conversation stalled, and at some point, the global VCs wanted to have a global structure, and that time the company did not have one. Additionally, there were operational pains, especially in terms of global cloud infrastructure, remittance scheme, TCSs, and the difficult to recover credits, and that impacted their working capital management. And then they reached out to us. They said that enough is enough, now we need to have a global structure. And then we studied hard, and then we delivered in a plan of 8 to 9 weeks. And form a fresh subsidiary out here. It had an IP assignment agreement. The entire RBI was done. EIS registration submitted. AI verified frameworks were being worked upon, and VC conversation that was stopped once was again started. Right now they have reduced their taxability because of the suit and partial EIS benefits. Now it's around 9% taxation over here. There is a subsidiary which becomes the global back office for that company, and the TCS is entirely eliminated. The Singapore entity does the entire transaction themselves, and the IP sits in Singapore. The R&D is placed in Singapore, and there they get a 400% deduction. The key takeaway, it's let's not focus just on the numbers, which will be different for every founders. Let's be honest. The takeaway is a sequence of outcomes. If you see, they got the capital access, they benefited through capital efficiency, the operation cash flow improved, and the governance credibility has also improved. So these are things that are very, very important for entrepreneurs, for AI founders, the SaaS ecosystem to take the help of, right? So if you want, we can have a 45-minute unstructured, no commitment call over there, where we can discuss your structure, your system. We can speak on the tax saving simulation on your structure. It's not everyone will save the tax. It's important to understand your business model, and only then, because we have our entities both in India, US, Singapore, Dubai, we might be able to help you to understand that whether it helps over there. We can incorporate your entity, we can do the end-to-end stuff out there, and we will help you even on the EIS registration of with the IRS, right? So on this note, I would love if Eastina can come in and discuss the several EDB programs, the current grant system, the direct support mechanism of AI companies, and then I can conclude it on a more holistic way. Eastina, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Soumik. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I'm sharing your deck. Just a second.
Okay.
Thanks, Estina, for being here and spending the time. Uh, and I think Singapore, as we were talking about, Singapore has become much, much more important for the global audience and also for Indian founders. Because I understand, Astina, that till the time Soumik puts on your deck, is that India offers founders talent, but Singapore actually offers access, trust, capital, and governance. So I think if you mix these two, it becomes a massive, massive opportunity and uh, opportunity for global founders and Indian founders also. Over to you, Estina. Thanks for joining this.
Yeah, thank you, Alok and Soumik, for the introductions. So, hi everyone. I am Eastina from the Economic Development Board of Singapore. So, the EDB is Singapore's investment promotion arm. We are a government agency. We are from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and we work with companies to explore growth through Singapore. Broader than that, the EDB is also responsible for industrial growth, economic strategies, and we are also directly responsible for about 40% of Singapore's GDP. So because of the theme of today's presentation, I will talk more specifically on the digital and AI ecosystem in Singapore. And I just wanted to also highlight that uh, in our nature of job, we work very closely with companies. So I'm based in Bombay, and I work with Indian companies across all the different cities to explore how Singapore and the EDB can partner with them. So after this webinar, if anyone is interested in Singapore, I think we can feel free to have a follow-up call together with Alok to explore how we can together partner and make this growth ambition a reality for all of you. So without further ado, I will go to the next slide. So on building Singapore's digital ecosystem, the Singapore economy didn't start off, like this. So initially when we were, fresh out of, war, in the 1960s, Singapore actually experienced, very strong population growth but also very high unemployment. And so previously we manufactured a lot of things like garments, wood, toys and things like that. So the economy of Singapore actually changed quite a bit, to become, to become what you see today. So today, in terms of innovation, we are ranked 5th globally. We have a number of AI startups, countless, about 150 AI R&D teams, and we do have a vibrant ecosystem of, innovation centers and various Fortune 500 companies that are located in Singapore. I think I just wanted to point out a few things on this slide that's important to Singapore and could be important for you guys as well. So Indian companies generally look at Singapore, one, as a regional headquarter location. So, if you're building a business that, has, revenue streams coming from outside of India, it will be useful to have, a Singapore entity so that you can manage your outside India business through Singapore. And also Singapore, considering that Singapore is a gateway to ASEAN, to the wider APAC region, it'll be easier for you to manage operations out from Singapore. Other than that, on talent, so other than our top 2 Asian universities, NUS and NTU, Singapore is actually a very key critical global talent hub where you can actually access globally leading talent out from Singapore. So for a lot of companies, Indian companies, they have actually shared that for building niche, high tech, products, sometimes they struggle to find that kind of talent in India. And somehow Singapore is, that location in which they could access, top tier global talent wherever they might be from, whether they might be from Europe, they might be from China, they might be from Middle East, you can access them equally from Singapore. And I think in terms of partnerships, we do have a lot of ecosystem partnerships and innovation partnerships across different corporate segments, and also various innovation programs between industry, academia, as well as the research community. Next. So I think Soumik previously shared a lot about the AI ecosystem in Singapore. I'd just like to highlight the AI strategy that Singapore has. Primarily is really the AI for the public good for Singapore and for the world. So we are developing a competitive and innovative AI ecosystem that we intend to bring together industry, research, academia to improve AI development, AI practice, and as well as to build up a pipeline of AI talent. Next. And of course, when we talk about AI, it's always about, compute resources. And Singapore actually differentiates this due to our connectivity and digital infrastructure. And this is actually really important for latency sensitive AI workloads, for example, interference. So another thing is really our political stability and trust in these different institutions makes Singapore a very reliable location for companies to store valuable data and undertake, mission critical activities. Next. So on advancing AI research through private partnerships, I've shared quite a bit about, our innovation landscape and our ecosystem. These are some of the different examples that we have in Singapore, bringing together companies together with academia to form an AI lab, or to conduct something interesting in Singapore. And of course, when we talk about, AI, talent is something that's very critical. So other than, Singapore being a location for globally competitive talent to gravitate towards, Singapore is also building our own pipeline of AI talent. And we intend to have, 15,000, AI practitioners in Singapore by 2029. And these talent will be built through various channels like, local education institutes, our 4 key local universities. We also partner with the industry, primarily the big tech companies, as well as we have our own national initiatives like AI Singapore and programs run by the IMDA, which is our national regulator, to help to build up, this pipeline of talent in the next 5 years. So this is just a bit more information on the type of programs and schemes that we have to build up the AI talent. After this webinar, we'll be able to share and disseminate some of these slides so that you have an idea of, what kind of programs are out there and where, your various talent could potentially come from, and as well as what are some of the possibilities that we can partner together. So on AI accelerators, I think these are just a few case studies on how different companies have, adopted various programs and partner with different accelerators to do different kind of AI work and adoption of AI technologies. So again, I wouldn't harp too much on this slide because we all know that, Singapore being the gateway to Asia, there are a lot of different global tech MNCs headquartered in Singapore. For many SaaS companies, Indian SaaS companies, when they think of, securing an anchor customer, Singapore is actually one of top of mind because of access to all these different global tech MNCs. So because of the various value propositions that I've shared earlier, we have also observed that there are various international AI startups also expanding into APAC through Singapore. And you could be one of them next if you consider Singapore as your next hub. So the other slide really will be about these two are examples about how we have partnered with industry to develop different programs and models and capabilities to actually answer to their pain points and their case studies. So of course, for American Express, it's fintech, they have come together with so they have actually undertaken the Decision Science Center of Excellence, and also they are looking at creating new credit and fraud risk models using AI and machine learning, as well as SAP labs. And of course, the EDB actually works very closely with these companies, especially GSK on this slide, to explore how we can use AI to promote some of these developments in different sectors, like the pharma sector, for example. So next. So on building an AI-ready workforce, I think I've talked a lot about talent. So these two are examples on how the EDB has worked with Oracle and Amazon to upskill and train talent in AI-related skills. So these two are our main key universities. I think everyone is familiar with them, NUS and NTU. So if any company is interested to be connected with them, to even be connected with their career, services arm, we'll be also very happy to make that connection. So maybe I'll just bring your attention to this program called AI Singapore. So AI Singapore is a national organization that was created in the first iteration of our national AI strategy, which actually oversees various initiatives designed to support industry partners on their AI journey. So we have an AI apprenticeship program, which is a national initiative to develop industry-ready AI capabilities. And this actually helps to develop, Singapore AI talents and help them to get more career opportunities in AI roles. So again, if you are a company thinking of tapping on, local AI talent in Singapore, we'll be happy to do the link ups for you. Another key, program for AI Singapore is actually the 100 Experiments program. So the 100E is actually AI Singapore's flagship initiative, where companies who bring a suitable AI problem can be supported in 3 ways. So one is definitely co-funding. 2 is really expertise from a very senior principal investigator from a local university. And 3, they will get support from AISG's in-house AI engineers who will work on these problem statements. So there's a case study on how Tencent has actually leveraged this program. Okay, so on this, I think on Soumik actually shared on AI Verify. So AI Verify is the world's first AI governance testing framework and toolkit. This is something led by IMDA. But I think it's interesting because our approach to AI governance is to create AI for the public good, and also to be practical and risk-based, and to also ensure that relevant stakeholders are involved in the process. That's why we have worked together with different government agencies and as well as industry partners to jointly shape AI regulations. So I think the last slide really will be, how various companies in Singapore have made different kinds of investments in the digital economy in Singapore. As you can see from India, the HCL Tech, I think everyone's familiar with them, have also set up a AI lab in Singapore to, support enterprises with, integrated AI offerings like the AI Force and AI Foundry. So for the EDB, we work very closely with companies to ensure that the support is also is bespoke. So I wouldn't go so far to say that you'll be allowed X number of grants or X number of like work pass concessions, but again it really depends on what the company intends to do in Singapore, and then we can come together to look at how well we can best support you. So I think after this call, we'll be happy to take any questions. We'll be happy to follow up with some of your interests, and I think we can deep dive in some of the areas that the company faces, because we believe that each company's situation is different, and I think we take a very serious and a very bespoke approach to see how we can best partner you through Singapore. Thank you.
Thanks, Eastina. I have a couple of questions which I want to ask you, more so from Indian founders' perspective. So many Indian founders still view Singapore primarily as a place to incorporate an overseas entity. But what is, in your view, how they should think differently about Singapore as a strategic anchor for accessing ASEAN region, global customers, capital and partnership, and also the AI boom which we are talking about? So what mindset the Indian founders should change when they talk about Singapore?
So Alok, I think earlier, in the presentation, you said something that stayed with me. So you said that it's not either India or Singapore, but it's India plus Singapore. And I think this is something that we would like the founders to take away and to think about Singapore as a complementary hub to what you have in India. So we recognize that the market continues to be in India. We're not going we can't rival a $1 billion population size. And of course, India being, the world's, the top few economies, increasingly I think Singapore really want to be that complementary hub to what you are doing. And as I shared earlier, our access to talent, our access to research ecosystem, our access to various innovation partnerships would actually be that key differentiator for you as you build more high-tech, high-value products.
Thank you. I think you rightly said that it has to be India plus Singapore. And we have a huge opportunity and the leverage to work on